Hello everyone, Pacific the Casual Gamer here, and I'm here. I suck just as bad as you at video games. And today, I'm going to talk about the best things and the worst things about Battlefield 1. And you know what? I'm going to start off by saying this ahead of time. Overall, Battlefield 1 is a good game in my opinion. And don't let the negativity overshadow the positivity, but don't let the positivity overshadow the negativity. So let's go. We're going to start with the bad things, right? Because we want to get the negative stuff out of the way. Big overall bad thing is the load times. Now, they fixed this a little bit in the game. They fixed it just a tiny bit, but they didn't really do it enough. There's still a solid amount of load time, right? It's too much load time in a game, right? And this kind of leads into the next part, which is the overall slower pace of the game, which I'm actually going to say it is a can-be negative thing, okay? I personally like the slower pace of the Battlefield 1, but that's my opinion. This can negatively impact the game a lot. Game is overall very slow, especially in Conquest. If you play, even like me, I play as an up-forward sniper with iron sight snipers and like snipers with red dots. So I need to be up close in the action, and there's not a lot of action, and if there is, it's just like the tanks fire and then you shoot, and then everyone respawns and the tanks fire and you shoot. Really, there's not a lot of interesting gameplay. There's still like planes flying around and crap, but too slow. And the last kind of bad point that I'm going to talk about Battlefield 1 is the weapon selection. Now, I know that this game is being historically accurate, right? The game's got to be historically accurate. But the weapon selection is so little, like legit, if you don't include the DLC, there's like 5 guns for each class. And then maybe like the attachments are, you know, a different type of gun. But there's really only 5 or 6 different guns for each class, and that's not a lot of weapon selection. When I'm playing Battlefield 1, it's not really interesting because of the guns at all, and this can be a problem for some of you, because if you're a more hardcore player of this kind of Battlefield 1, the atmosphere is going to wear off, and you're not going to have a lot of guns to mess with. I mean, there's still some odd ones out, like the M1903 Experimental, or even the Martini Henry is an interesting play on sniper rifles, but that's just sniper rifles alone. All the SMGs, I mean, they all play differently, but there's only like 5 of them. Like Battlefield 4 had so many different types of guns. It was insane, right? And it wasn't afraid to sometimes kind of branch out into different types of guns you wouldn't expect. However, the game is still, this is actually another pain point, but I'll get to this in a little bit. The game is still releasing weapons, right? They're releasing it as DLC, so they're eventually going to double, basically, the weapon count, which I think once they get the DLC done, and once they release all the DLC, then I think the game is actually going to be a lot better than it is now. And like I said, don't let all this bad stuff overshadow the good stuff. But now, we're going to talk about the good stuff about Battlefield 1. The major thing that I want to talk about here, the best part of this game, is I actually think is its atmosphere and the overall setting. I feel like this game has one of, if not the best game settings in the world. And I'm going to tell you why. I've put a lot of hours into this game, more than a lot of games I own. And it has not worn the setting off. Alright, the only other game that I can actually think of that hasn't worn its setting off is Rainbow Six Siege. Battlefield 1's setting is absolutely amazing, and I love it. Alright, and that's where the slowness of the gameplay can be a good or bad thing, right? Because you have the slow gameplay, people that don't like slow gameplay, but then you have the people who say, like me, who say, listen, the slower gameplay is actually part of the setting, right? This game, there's so much going for it in the setting and atmosphere that it just builds into a wonderful, quote-unquote, because it's Battlefield 1, it's sad, right? A wonderful experience. And this actually leads into the next point, which the single player in this game is amazing. I have to say, I almost cried in the single player, actually, because of how sad it was. But the single player was very, very fun to play. I just have to say that. It was very, very fun to play, and I think it just hit home. It did what it was supposed to do, which was be very, very sad, and it was very, very sad. And I feel like in the campaign, transitioning, like when you were playing the tanker campaign or even the airplane campaign, it did a really good job of transitioning you between the airplane segments and the tank segments without kind of making them separate, right? So an example of this is like when you were in the Argonne Forest in the tank mission, right? And you were riding around in the tank and you had to like get out and scout ahead, right? You had to do that, but it wasn't like you were scouting ahead on a tank track. It was like you were a tank going through a battlefield and you had to get out and use the infantry paths, right? Again, the blimp mission is another one with the airplanes. Like, there's a point where your airplane crashes on a blimp, right? So you're used to flying around in an airplane, you crash on a blimp, and it seamlessly transitions you from flying an airplane to doing a firefight on a blimp. That was amazing. And the last good thing about Battlefield 1 is, like, the best thing, right? Is the DLC. Now, I do not say this at all for basically any game with DLC. And that's because I'm the firm believer of you need to make the game, you know, as good as it can be the first time. But I will say this. Battlefield 1 did not feel like a $60 game when I bought it. It really didn't. It felt like a $40 or $45 game. Mainly because I played a lot of the beta, so I think if I didn't play the beta, it would have felt like a $60 game. But after the DLC came out, the first one, and I bought the Season Pass, but after the first DLC came out, I was so happy. Like, if the game was just like it is right now, with the one DLC, with the 6 extra maps, mind you, and there are 6 very good maps, except for one of them, but that's okay. I can see where people would really like the new President, or however you say it. The DLC is amazing. It really adds a lot to the game. And I feel like this game, without the Season Pass, is like nothing. I feel like this game is the game where you pay $60 and you pay however much extra it costs, I don't remember how much, for the premium pass. I feel like this game is that game where you must buy the premium pass and the full game to get the full experience, because it is such a big game right now, and they still have 3 DLCs to go. I feel like EA or DICE really, really nailed the DLC situation with this game, and I feel like if they just keep doing it, it's gonna bring in more players and, you know, gonna make the game even more fun. But, you know, the last thing I want to talk about, I know the DLC was the last thing, is the overall gameplay of this game is good. It's fun to play, and that's what it really should come down to, is it's fun to play, and pretty much every match that I've played, even if I've won or lost, has been a fulfilling experience. And I like it. I'm still enjoying this game. You know, I can sit down and play this game for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And that's a lot. I usually give a game about 2 hours and then I'm done with it for the night. 4 or 5 hours is a lot of hours in my opinion. But, guys, this is more of a discussion piece. I want you guys to discuss stuff in the comments below. Do you think Battlefield 1 is a good game or not? What do you think is the best parts? What do you think is the worst parts? And, you know, this is about discussion. So, yeah, you can have a flame wars in the comments. I don't care. But guys, I am Pacific the Casual Gamer. I upload videos and streams daily, and I suck just as bad as you do at all these video games. I'll see you guys in the next episode of whatever I decide to make.